That was Diddy's lawyer storming out the courtroom, mad as hell. Word on the street is they just dropped the most lethal in this whole case.
Of evidence are coming in. What is Mr. Combs going to do when they show the video? Is he going to have any reaction to it?
New evidence hitting the table left and right. Uncle Mike leaning back like, yo, what's Puff gonna do when they hit play on that tape? One tape got the whole legal squad shook like dice in a cup. Just imagine what else the Fed's sitting on. Some of it they might not even know yet. One lawyer already threw in the towel. Team looking like it's cracking. Uncle Mike say it's time to break it all down for the fam. The withdrawal and the wild twist in this case. On February 21st, 2025, legal heads gasped when Anthony Rico, one of Diddy's defense hitters, filed papers to bounce from the case. Told the judge flat out he could no longer represent Mr. Combs under any circumstances. Crazy part? Rico ain't just any lawyer. This dude got stripes. He once held it down for high-profile clients, even Osama bin Laden's driver. When somebody like Rico walks away this close to trial, you know something deep is brewing. And Uncle Mike caught that too. Rico ain't spilled no details. Nah, he played it slick, saying attorney-client privilege tied his hands. Legal cats call it a noisy withdrawal. Usually means either the case or the client got real messy. Rico bounced, but Diddy's bench stayed solid. Uncle Mike kept his eyes on the play. 5 attorneys still riding with Puff, including Mark Agnifilo, running point. Court docs said Rico's exit wasn't stopping nothing. And they was right. The trial steamrolled on. Fast forward to May 2025. Uncle Mike glued to the screen like everybody else. The whole game watching as it all unfolds in downtown Manhattan. The jury selection popped off May 5th, 2025. Opening statements set for May 12th. And the charges? Straight fire. Uncle Mike read them off like a track list. Racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking by force, fraud or coercion, transportation to engage in prostitution. Serious heat. The feds claim Diddy ran a criminal enterprise for 2 decades, using the music game as a front for wild business. The word freak-offs done became infamous now. Prosecutors say these wild private events involved coercion, threats, violence, heavy drugs, and control to protect Diddy's rep and keep folks silent. Uncle Mike sat back, watching the jury pool get narrowed down. On May 9th, the court got 43 possibles from the big original group. The final squad, 12 jurors, 6 alternates, with final cuts set for May 12th. Uncle Mike shook his head at the biggest issue, finding folks who can stay 100 despite all the media noise. A lot of them had already seen the 2016 footage of Diddy allegedly putting hands on Cassie Ventura in that hotel hallway, a clip the prosecutors ain't gonna let slide. But it ain't just the video, nah. Uncle Mike knows the feds raided Puff's LA and Miami cribs back in March 2024. Came out with bags of electronics, heat, pills, you name it. The wildest, over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant tied to those freak-off accusations. It sounded unreal, but was right there in the indictment. Prosecution heavy, leaning on the victim testimonies too. 4 alleged victims ready to step up, listed in court documents as Victim 1 through Victim 4. Victim 1? Uncle Mike knows the street's already talking. That's most likely Cassie, whose civil suit back in November 2023 started this whole domino effect. The whole case got so much attention, Uncle Mike knows there's gonna be more wild twists. And fam, we just getting started.
You have to remember that you're not just being judged by the man or the woman on the bench. You're being judged by the jury. They're looking at how you dress, your posture, your facial expressions, especially when certain items of evidence are coming in. What is Mr. Combs going to do when they show the video? Is he going to have any reaction to it? Is he going to shake his head? Those are all things that jurors who are human are looking at. And in a case of this magnitude, there's going to be the star quality, the celebrity quality that's going on. And so you want to make sure that you never lose track of the fact that you are being watched each and every way, especially as the attorney, the way you interact with your client, when you're passing notes or when you're whispering something to them. Those things are very important.
The scheduled completion of jury selection, the process hit a surprising delay. Despite expectations that the final jury would be locked in by May 9th, the court announced that peremptory challenges would instead take place on May 12th, pushing opening statements to later that day, adding more salve to the situation. There are reports that one of the prosecution's key witnesses, identified as victim 3, may not testify despite being subpoenaed. This development has sparked unverified speculation about potential witness tampering, adding another layer of drama to an already wild case. As the trial heats up, both sides are getting their game plans ready for what's sure to be a heated legal battle. The prosecution will try to paint 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 as someone who used his bread fame and juice to run a criminal enterprise that victimized numerous individuals. Meanwhile, the defense strategy appears focused on arguing that all sexual encounters were consensual, portraying 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 as someone who just lived an alternative lifestyle that, while perhaps unconventional, wasn't breaking any laws. You have to remember that you're not just being judged by the man or the woman on the bench. You're being judged by the jury. They're looking at how you dress, your posture, your facial expressions, especially when certain items of evidence are coming in. What is Mr. Combs going to do when they show the video? Those are all things that jurors who are human are looking at. The defense team has a tough road ahead, especially regarding that hotel surveillance video. Legal experts suggest they'll need to get the air out of the room with this damaging evidence, acknowledging its existence, while emphasizing that 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 isn't on trial for domestic violence, but rather for sex trafficking and racketeering. It's worth noting that despite having been denied bail multiple times, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 has consistently maintained that he's innocent. He has pleaded not guilty to all charges and curved a plea deal, apparently preferring to roll the dice at trial. Despite the potential for a life sentence if convicted, at the center of these allegations is Courtney Burgess, a witness who testified before a federal grand jury in November 2024. Burgess claims to have been in possession of 11 flash drives containing at least 8 tapes involving Diddy and 8 celebrities, 6 male and 2 female. According to his testimony, these drives were given to him by Kim Porter, Diddy's late ex-girlfriend and baby mama, to 4 of his children before her death in 2018. The contents of these alleged tapes are mad disturbing. No Cap Burgess has claimed that 2 to 3 of the celebrities in the videos appeared to be minors and that all participants seem to be faded. When asked during an interview how many of the 8 celebrities appeared to be potentially victimized, Burgess responded, all of them were victims or were perpetrating victims.
And of those 8, how many seemed to be potentially minors?
2 to 3, possibly 3.
To the videos, Burgess claims the flash drives contained a manuscript of an alleged memoir by Kim Porter titled Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side. This manuscript reportedly details physical abuse, coercion, and other acts of violence allegedly committed by Diddy. The book was briefly available on Amazon before being yanked after complaints from Diddy's children, who questioned whether it was legit. The credibility of these explosive claims has been hotly contested. Diddy's legal team has vehemently denied the existence of the tapes, describing Burgess's allegations as fabricated and malicious falsehoods. In January 2025, Diddy filed a $50 million defamation lawsuit against Burgess, his attorney 𝗟𝗓𝗡 Mitchell, and News Nation, which aired an interview with Burgess, arguing that the claims are capped and could prejudice his upcoming trial. Diddy's attorneys have noted that Porter's children and her longtime roommate have never heard of Burgess casting doubt on his connection to her. They've also sought a gag order to prevent Burgess and Mitchell from running their mouths about the case. Despite these challenges to his credibility, Burgess's claims have been taken seriously by the feds. He was served a grand jury subpoena on October 24, 2024, requiring him to provide all digital records related to Diddy, including thumb drives and other electronic storage devices. He has reportedly turned over the media drives and manuscript to investigators. The alleged flash drives aren't the only digital evidence in this case. During the raids on Diddy's properties in March 2024, federal agents seized phones, computers, and other electronic devices. These items are likely being analyzed for videos, photographs, or communications that could back up allegations of misconduct and trafficking. Another controversial piece of digital evidence dropped in October 2024 when a recording allegedly capturing Diddy discussing pizza boxes during a prison phone call was leaked. In this recording, Diddy can purportedly be heard instructing someone believed to be his son to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. Do not entertain none of this nonsense and nothing over the phone. I'm going to need you to get rid of all the leftover pizza boxes. Many online discussions have interpreted this as coded language for concealing evidence possibly linked to his legal troubles. However, the recording's authenticity is heavily debated, with many suggesting it could be generated due to the improbability of discussing sensitive matters on a monitored prison line. Perhaps the most damning piece of digital evidence in this case is the 2016 surveillance video released by CNN on May 17, 2024, showing Diddy putting hands on Cassandra Ventura in a hotel hallway. CNN verified the video's authenticity by comparing it to publicly available images of the Intercontinental Hotel in Los Angeles, where the incident took place. This video has become a central focus in the trial as it backs up allegations made by Ventura in her November 2023 lawsuit. Following the video's release, Diddy issued a public apology describing his behavior as inexcusable and stating he was disgusted by his actions. The defense team faces a major challenge in addressing this video during the trial. Legal experts suggest they will need to acknowledge it directly, emphasizing that while it shows reprehensible behavior, it doesn't prove the specific charges Diddy is facing. They may also point out that Ventura continued her relationship with Diddy after this incident and initially sought a bag rather than criminal charges.
And so those are actually things that are very important to put in context to the event. You have to own the event. You have to tell the jury that we're not here because you agree with him morally and how he has conducted himself at each and every stage of his life. We're here to determine whether he was committing these violent acts that are that you're here to judge his actions by. And so you have to make sure that the jury is not looking at this as what would I have done in this situation, but they're looking at it, what is an illegal act, and do these people have a motive to lie for whatever personal vendetta that they may have.
Beyond the digital evidence, physical items seized during the raids on Diddy's cribs are also significant to the prosecution's case. 3 AR-15 rifles, With D-Face, serial numbers, a drum magazine, and ammunition were found in his Miami Beach mansion, along with narcotics. These items have led to additional charges related to illegal firearms possession and drug offenses. The most wild physical evidence, however, may be the over 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant discovered during the raid. Prosecutors allege these items were used in the freak-offs described in the indictment, which allegedly lasted for days and involve drugs, coercion, and abuse so severe that participants sometimes needed IV fluids for recovery. This extensive collection of evidence, digital, physical, and testimonial, creates a complex web for the jury to evaluate. The prosecution will likely argue that the collective weight of this evidence shows a pattern of behavior consistent with the charges. The defense, meanwhile, will attempt to challenge the credibility of witnesses, question the interpretation of physical evidence, and dispute the authenticity or context of digital materials. A key question in this trial will be how the jury responds to victim 1, widely believed to be Cassandra Ventura. Recent court proceedings have revealed that the prosecution plans to introduce a photograph of victim 1 taken in May 2005 when she was 19 years old, just 6 months before she met 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 and signed with his label. This timeline aligns with Ventura's known history with Diddy. Interestingly, the defense has suggested they will argue there was mutual physical violence between Diddy and victim 1, claiming she has strength and is powerful, thus challenging the notion that she was coerced into activities. This strategy appears designed to cast doubt on whether the relationship fits the legal definition of trafficking, which requires force, fraud, or coercion. But the judge ruled not to exclude the photo. So this photo will be admitted into evidence.
Much that the judge ruled not to exclude the photo. So this photo will be admitted into evidence. Now, victim 1 was also brought up by a kind of a defense argument. And this argument was a little surprising to me because, for the most part, it seems that the defense at some kind of aspects and points of this case have kind of been trying to paint this picture that Combs, in a way, he lives an alternative lifestyle. This is just, these are consensual relationships between, his former girlfriends and these escorts that are a part of, these freak-offs that the government is painting kind of his, discretions about. But as far as how this has to do with victim 1 is that the defense is pretty much going to tell these jurors essentially that there was mutual physical violence, domestic violence between the defendant, that being Diddy, and victim 1.
This prosecution has another concerning development to address: the possible absence of victim 3, despite being subpoenaed. While the specific reason for this potential absence hasn't been disclosed publicly, it raises questions about witness intimidation or other external pressures. This situation highlights the challenges in prosecuting high-profile defendants, particularly when allegations of witness tampering have already been made. In fact, Diddy's multiple bail denials were partly based on concerns about witness tampering. Prosecutors alleged that while locked up, 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦 had attempted to contact potential witnesses using other inmates' phone codes and had orchestrated social media campaigns to sway prospective jurors. These concerns were deemed serious enough to keep him detained at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn throughout the pre-trial period, as Sean Diddy Combs' trial moves forward. The question everybody got on their mind right now: what's next for Puff? Uncle Mike been hearing it in the streets, in the blogs, everywhere. This trial ain't just about Diddy. The outcome of this case could shake the whole music game to its core. It could change how the industry moves with abuse claims and exploitation accusations. If Puff gets hit with the full weight of the law, he's staring down a mountain of time. That racketeering charge alone, it's got life behind it. No minimum, just straight life. Then you got 2 counts of trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion. Both max out at life too, with a minimum of 15 years each. 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution. That's another 10 years each. Uncle Mike breaking it down for y'all. To see where Puff might land, you gotta look at cases like R. Kelly. R. Kelly got smacked with 30 years in June 2022, then got hit with 20 more in 2023, with 19 served concurrently. Basically, a 31-year stretch. Uncle Mike know the streets thinking, if Diddy go down, it could look real similar. Puff 55 years old now. You already know what that would mean. But hold up. It ain't over till the judge bangs the gavel. Puff still got a cold squad of legal killers in his corner. Lead counsel, 𝗟𝗡𝗡𝗞𝗦. Dude been in the trenches. He represented 𝗗𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦. Diddy's legal game plan? Simple. Say every encounter was consensual. Paint Puff as wild, sure, but not criminal. They even pull in the race card heavy, saying the trafficking charges feel like a throwback to when the system targeted black men under the Mann Act. That argument might hit hard with some jurors worried about justice being biased. If Puff beats the charges, he walks free of prison, but still got a whole other problem. Uncle Mike peeped the numbers. Over 60 civil suits already filed as of April 2025. Allegations of assault, misconduct, all the way back to '91. Even if the criminal case folds, them lawsuits still coming heavy. There's also a third lane, mistrial. That happens if the jury can't agree on a verdict. Could mean the prosecutors got to rerun the whole thing, dragging this out for years, keeping Diddy's future in limbo. Then you got the wild card, the plea deal.
Don't know exactly what it is. You actually believe that it's not necessarily off the table yet? He might take a deal?
It's never off the table. And I handle a lot of cases, and that first deal, very rarely do you take. I think that's the start of the process. I know that it's going to have to be something where Diddy's not going to spend a substantial time in jail talking about 10 years or anything like that. Why would you take that? You would rather go to trial and see what the end result is. But if they can offer him something where it's in that 5-year range and there's an understanding that he'll be cleared of everything else, it's going to be appealing to him.
So far, Puff curved every offer, said nay and rolled the dice. But Uncle Mike know how this game works. Once the evidence starts stacking, that deal might look sweeter. Not talking no 10, 15, or 20 years? Nah. Some legal minds say if they came with a 5-year bid and squashed the rest, Puff might actually take that walk. One trial attorney even told Uncle Mike, why would you cop to something that puts you away for life when you can roll the dice in court? But if the feds slide you something soft like 5 years and a clean slate, that's a whole different convo. If convicted though, Uncle Mike know the fallout gonna be nuclear. Puff's billion-dollar empire, poof, gone. Business partners, investors gonna scatter like roaches. Bad Boy Entertainment, Sean John Clothing, his whole legacy might get wiped off streaming, pulled off shelves, erased from the culture. This ain't just jail time. This is legacy destruction. Stay tuned, fam. Uncle Mike watching this 1 minute by minute.
Who he could be. I've been doing it for 35 years. I think we probably entered the music business at the same time. He entered with Uptown, I entered into Big Beat, Atlantic. At the time, I guess he was ambitious. He was then from ambitious went to doing anything, and then from doing anything to didn't care about nobody, who he could beat, and then he ended up turning into Lucifer.
Uncle Mike been around long enough to know the blueprint. He's seen it with R. Kelly. After Kells got convicted, radio stations hit mute, streaming platforms pulled the plug, and his whole legacy, poof, gone. R. Kelly went from icon to ghost. Uncle Mike watching the same pattern creeping up on Puff. Even if Diddy somehow beats this criminal case, his rep already took a heavy body blow. That 2016 surveillance footage, the one where Puff was caught putting hands on 𝗟𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦, man, that changed how the world sees him forever. Puff even came out after the video hit the net, said it himself. My actions were inexcusable. I'm disgusted by what I did. But visual proof hit different. You can say, sorry, all you want, but once folks see it, the damage locked in. Diddy was always that dude. Came up from nothing. Hustled. Grinded. Lived that work hard, play hard life. To a lot of people, he was the blueprint. The mogul they wanted to be. But Uncle Mike gonna say what everybody thinking. Heroes don't put hands on women. That moment killed the hero nostalgia for a lot of fans. As one legal cat put it, you can't unsee what you saw. That one video flipped the whole script on Puff. And now comes the money part. Uncle Mike seen the numbers and they ain't pretty. The hotline run by attorney Tony Busby, reportedly 27,000 calls came in. After checking, about 15,000 claims could be valid. Even if Puff walks on the criminal side, just them civil lawsuits alone could bleed his accounts dry. Settlements, legal fees, all of it stacking up. One legal analyst told Uncle Mike, I don't think the racketeering gonna stick heavy. Diddy built a real business empire. It wasn't all about the freak-offs and wild parties. That was more like side noise, not the main operation. In other words, they might have a hard time proving he organized the whole business for illegal purposes. Diddy ain't making cash directly from these alleged freak-offs, so connecting that legally ain't easy. But Uncle Mike know the wild card in the deck is gonna be the victim's testimony. Especially victim one, presumed by most to be 𝗟𝗢𝗡𝗞𝗦. Court just revealed the defense, and prosecution struck a deal. Victim one won't get grilled about certain medical topics. Translation, they trying to protect her testimony while blocking the defense from poking too deep. It's a chess move to keep her story strong. As this trial rolls on, Uncle Mike know what's coming. Prosecution gonna stack their cards, brick by brick, showing Diddy had a decades-long pattern of behavior. They ain't just out to prove he was reckless. They gonna argue he used force, fraud, or coercion to make folks do what he wanted for personal gain. And then Uncle Mike heard the coldest take yet from Courtney Burgess. I've been in this music game 35 years. I watched Puff come in hungry, ambitious, grinding, but somewhere along the way, he crossed that line. From ambitious to reckless to not caring who he stepped on to Lucifer himself. Uncle Mike sat back heavy off that one. Diddy's back against the wall. The charges alone look bad, but now word on the street is Puff done started name dropping, throwing other big names out there, hoping to get the heat off him. But Uncle Mike gonna keep it a buck. That move could backfire big time. Might hurt Puff more than it helps. This whole thing, from bad to worse.
All of these big deviants is all catching hell in 2024. It's up for all of them. It don't matter if you Diddy or whoever you is, TG Jakes, any of them. All lies will be exposed. That's all.
In the same interview, Williams also revealed that he had turned down multiple invitations to attend Diddy's notorious parties.
I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times, just to protect my integrity and that virgin hole I was telling you about.
I got the receipts for everything I'm telling you. That's why I can say Williams' comments, while delivered with his signature humor, highlight a very real concern for those in Diddy's inner circle. If Diddy does decide to testify and potentially name names, it could have far-reaching consequences for other celebrities who have attended his infamous parties over the years. Reacting to Williams' interview, one ex-user commented, with the Diddy party being over in all, it's insane to look back at the Cat Williams interview with Shannon Sharpe at the start of the year, Bro knew they were cooked. Adding to the speculation surrounding Diddy's case, U.S. Attorney Tony Buzbee has made it clear that the public will soon learn the names of individuals who either assisted Diddy in his alleged crimes or turned a blind eye. Buzbee, who represents some of the victims, says that many of these individuals were present at Diddy's parties and could have played a role in enabling the alleged abuse. Buzbee has also revealed shocking details about the scope of the allegations against Diddy. According to the attorney, more than 3,000 people have come forward claiming to have been victimized by the music mogul or his associates. Of those, 120 individuals have been vetted as credible, with 25 of the victims being minors at the time of the alleged abuse. One of the youngest victims was reportedly just 9 years old. The wall of silence has now been broken. Buzbee said, referring to the number of victims who are finally speaking out. He also warned that the public will soon know the names of those involved in Diddy's alleged sex trafficking ring. My team has had more than 3,000 individuals contact us, each of them claiming to have been victimized by Sean Diddy Combs. Social media has been buzzing with reactions to Buzbee's revelations. Many users have expressed outrage over the allegations and the possibility that other celebrities may have been involved in or complicit with Diddy's crimes. Maya Angelique. Maya wrote on X, more than 3,285 people contacted the attorney's office saying they are victims of Diddy and associates. Hazan also wrote, Diddy drugging and sexually abusing minors at his parties also means other celebs were doing the same. If he doesn't snitch on them, they should torture him till he does. We need all their names. Boy Carter also said, the Diddy jokes weren't funny before, and now after finding out he had victims that were as young as 9 years old, you make a joke about anything that man has done. I'm reporting you like y'all got to grow up. As for Sandy, at Sandy Molina, over 3,000 victims in the Diddy SA scandal. 120 have been vetted. Of those, 25 were minors, youngest being 9. Across 20 years, hell is empty. All the devils are here. Similarly, Jason Lee dropped a couple of bombshells when he specifically named many celebrities he's seen at Diddy's parties, even though he made it clear that this doesn't actually implicate them in his scandal in any way.
A lot of these celebrities, every single celebrity in the culture has been to Diddy's house.
He continued,
means they've gone through all his phones, text messages. I can read you my text message to Diddy. What day is it airing on the show, on the network? Are you coming on the show? Diddy, what's this? It's all been business for me.
Uncle Mike leaning in on this next one, cause the streets buzzing heavy. Nothing wild, just business. That same dude went on and said, I don't deal with Diddy like that. I don't got no inappropriate messages. I keep it business. But then he started spinning the roll call of everybody he's seen at Diddy's spot. Uncle Mike had to pull out a notepad for this one. Dude said, I seen Bishop T.D. Jakes at Diddy crib. I seen Chris Brown, Jordan Woods, Travis Scott, Beyonce, Tiana Taylor, Usher, DaBaby, Justin Bieber. I seen everybody. Uncle Mike nodding like, that's the whole Billboard Top 100 right there. Then came the white party guest list. Lindsay Lohan, Ashton Kutcher, Demi Moore, Tyrese, Amber Rose, Mary J. Blige. The list go on. Uncle Mike had to pause. He know what folks was thinking. Were they involved in the alleged freaky business? But the witness cleared it up. He said straight up, just cause they was there don't mean they was doing none of that. I ain't never got involved in no wild sexual acts either. Uncle Mike respected that clarification. With the rumor mill spinning that Diddy might start naming names to lessen his time, folks everywhere asking what happens if he does. Uncle Mike been hearing it loud. snitches get stitches. That line, been legendary in street code forever. It's a real warning for anybody thinking of testifying against people in the game. You talk, you risk the backlash. Puff facing serious heat, and legal heads know the big gamble. Will Puff take the stand? Uncle Mike know Diddy already hinted through his lawyer Mark Agnifilo that he wants to testify. That's rare, boss. Most defense lawyers beg their clients not to do that. Why? Because once you on that stand, the prosecution got the green light to tear you apart. Cross-examination becomes a mental war zone. Every word, every pause, every contradiction, they're gonna use that to cook you. Uncle Mike been in enough courtrooms to know one bad answer under pressure, whole case can crumble. The streets respect power and silence. For Diddy, a mogul who built his whole brand on being untouchable, testifying could crack that armor and change the narrative forever. Las Vegas attorney Misha Moulton spoke on it. She told Page 6, Diddy should think hard before he testifies. Cross-examination is mentally brutal. They don't want the truth. They want him to mess up. Uncle Mike nodded hard at that. 'Cause she right. If Puff gets flustered or emotional, the jury might start looking at him sideways. Even if he thinks getting on the mic is his shot to clear his name, it could just as easily backfire. Moulton said holding composure under that kind of heat is almost impossible. And Uncle Mike know if Puff slips even once, it could be the turning point of the whole trial. The stakes ain't never been higher. He facing the kind of time that rewrites history books. The next move, we all watching close. Typical legal disputes. They're dark-sorted and potentially life-destroying. The allegations include sex trafficking, racketeering, and coercion. Some of these accusations date back years, with multiple women stepping forward to accuse Diddy of horrific acts. The media has compared his case to that of Jeffrey Epstein, another powerful figure brought down by accusations of sex trafficking and exploitation of young women. According to a federal source, Diddy allegedly kept sex rooms in his Miami mansion there. These rooms were reportedly filled with toys, bondage gear, hidden cameras, and lingerie. The source claimed that the rapper held freak-offs parties involving male prostitutes and drugged-up victims, some of whom were allegedly teenagers. These activities were said to be recorded with hidden cameras, capturing every angle, often without the victim's knowledge. He also was able to watch the action remotely on his phone, cast it onto a TV in another part of the house. He didn't have to be in the room when the sex was happening. Although he frequently was, Diddy's employees allegedly helped facilitate the 6 sessions by arranging travel booking hotel rooms where they would take place and stocking the rooms with supplies, including drugs, baby oil, lubricants, and extra linen. The indictment also alleges that Diddy used these recordings as leverage, holding them over the heads of his victims to ensure their silence and compliance. The federal source likened Diddy to Epstein, calling him as bad as Epstein, and noting that some of the women involved were either barely legal or underage. Epstein was a well-connected financier who served time for trafficking dozens of young girls in New York and Florida. Epstein, who was awaiting trial on additional charges, died in his jail cell in August 2019 in a similar position. The allegations against Diddy paint a disturbing picture of a man who has long been a towering figure in the music industry, but whose private life, according to the charges, was filled with exploitation and abuse. Diddy's legal woes go beyond just the allegations of sexual misconduct. Federal prosecutors are pursuing him under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, a law designed to take down organized crime figures. RICO charges have been used to dismantle some of the most notorious mafia families, including those of John Gotti and James Whitey Bullier. The fact that Diddy is being prosecuted under RICO laws signals just how serious these charges are. Prosecutors are treating Diddy like a mob boss, accusing him of orchestrating a criminal enterprise with various people under his control. They are very much treating this matter like a mobster case and articulating various roles that different people played in supporting the conspiracy, said Luis Shapiro, who defends clients in federal criminal proceedings. This includes employees and associates who allegedly helped facilitate his illegal activities, from arranging travel for victims to stocking hotel rooms with drugs and sex toys. Former federal prosecutor Nima Romani commented on the case saying, "If I were a celebrity who participated in one of Combs' freak-offs, I would be shaking in my boots. At best, they're a witness in a case that is very likely going to trial. At worst, they're a co-defendant." Romani noted that celebrities who attended these infamous parties could now find themselves either as witnesses or worse co-defendants in the trial. The government's investigation is extensive. More than 50 witnesses have been interviewed, 300 warrants have been served, and the evidence against Diddy is piling up. The indictment also alleges that the women, some of whom were still teenagers, were coerced into freak-off sex sessions with male prostitutes that were often recorded. While the music producer, Master One source familiar with the case, said that federal prosecutors have spoken to sex workers who are willing to testify before a grand jury. Who else could be implicated? As Diddy's trial looms, many are speculating about who else might be dragged into the case. Legal experts believe that more names will come out as either defendants or witnesses. Some have even compared the situation to the downfall of Jeffrey Epstein, where high-profile figures were implicated due to their association with him. In fact, in civil lawsuits filed against Diddy in the past year, one top executive was compared to Epstein's partner, Ghislaine Maxwell, for allegedly helping to supply women to Diddy for his freak-offs. While federal prosecutors have not named this individual, it is clear that the investigation is far from over. Former LA prosecutor Dimitri Goran speculated that the case could hinge on someone close to Diddy turning against him, similar to how Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano turned on mafia boss John Gotti. Who is Salvatore Sammy the Bull Gravano here? Goran asked, suggesting that someone in Diddy's inner circle could become the key witness that brings him down. At this point, it's hard to predict what will happen next. In Diddy's case, prosecutors have made it clear that their investigation is ongoing, and more charges could be on the way. Diddy's decision to testify could make or break his defense, but it's a risky move that could expose him to even more legal trouble. One thing is certain, the trial will be closely watched, not just because of Diddy's celebrity status, but because of the serious nature of the allegations against him. If the charges are proven true, it could mark the downfall of one of hip-hop's biggest icons, and if others are implicated along the way, the fallout could be even more far-reaching. As the saying goes, snitches get stitches. Whether Diddy testifies or not, this trial has the potential to uncover dark secrets and shake the foundations of the music industry. Uncle Mike leaning back and about to go all in on this one, cause now we at the crossroads. Only time gonna tell what the consequences gonna be. Puff standing at the edge. Does testifying speed up his fall from grace, or does he somehow snatch a shot at redemption? Uncle Mike ain't got the crystal ball, but the writing on the wall looked grim for Diddy. The mogul who once ruled the charts, ran the clubs, and flipped Bad Boy into an empire is now trapped in a legal hurricane. Stacks of lawsuits and accusers coming out the woodwork. The pressure been mounting like weight plates on a barbell. Puff's legal team offered $50 million, the deed to his mama's Florida home, and even handed over the twins' passports to try to secure bail. His own passport, confiscated back in April. None of it moved the court. Why? Uncle Mike know the streets been talking. One major reason, was the accusation that Puff been intimidating witnesses and victims for years. The prosecution painted Puff as a man who will do whatever it takes to silence anybody who stand against him. Uncle Mike heard one of the wildest claims. Puff and his crew allegedly kidnapped a man at gunpoint. Another, they cut the top off a drop-top whip just to toss a Molotov cocktail inside and set it ablaze. The judge heard these details and said, nah, keep him locked. So, now, Puff sits inside Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. Same spot they held R. Kelly. Same spot Ghislaine Maxwell sat. And the streets all whispering, what's next? No trial date confirmed yet, but the heat ain't letting up. If convicted just on sex trafficking, Puff faces a minimum 15 years. But that racketeering conspiracy charge, that's the monster, boss. That's life. It covers everything. Forced labor, trafficking, bribery, even arson. It ain't just Puff, it's his whole alleged network under the Fed's microscope. Uncle Mike been peeping the moves. Prosecutors led by U.S. Attorney Damian Williams still building their case. Over 50 victims and witnesses already spoken to. Uncle Mike heard there's talk of more charges and more victims still to come. Legal experts say Puff probably won't even get a plea deal at this point. The accusation's too heavy. They're trying to paint Diddy as the boss of what they now call Combs Enterprise, a dark mirror image of the business empire that once had him sitting on top of the world. 𝗟𝗓𝗡𝗞𝗦 from Villanova Law School put it plain. I wonder if Puff being held without bail gives other survivors the courage to step forward. Uncle Mike knows that's real talk. Meanwhile, Misty Maris, a sharp trial lawyer, told the world, the feds got a tough decision. Do they charge the people around Puff or flip them to testify? That's tricky, boss. A lot of folks in this case got dirty hands. Racketeering cases always messy like that. On top of the criminal heat, Diddy drowning in civil cases. Lawsuits stretching back decades, telling a cold story of alleged abuse. Uncle Mike remembers November 2023, when an unnamed woman sued both Puff and singer Aaron Hall, claiming they raped and beat her back in the early 90s. That same month, Joy Dickerson, a former associate, dropped a bomb claiming Puff drugged and sexually assaulted her too. Every new lawsuit adding weight to what already feels like a mountain. The empire that once built dreams now looks like it might just crumble brick by brick. Uncle Mike right back at it, fam. Now this is where things get even crazier. One of the wildest claims floating around, that Puff didn't just assault some of these women, but allegedly filmed it and showed it to folks in his circle. You heard that right. In December, another bombshell dropped when a woman said Diddy and two other dudes raped her in a New York studio when she was just 17 years old. The lawsuits? Man, they keep stacking like bad debt. February 2024. Jones, a producer who worked close to Puff, came with a $30 million lawsuit. Said Puff groomed him, assaulted him, and forced him into wild situations. Lil Rod even named Cuba Gooding Jr. as allegedly being part of the mess. Uncle Mike shook his head when Lil Rod's papers even dragged J-Lo into the mix, claiming she illegally brought a burner into a club back when she was Puff's girl. And it don't stop there, boss. Dawn Richard, from Diddy's girl group, Danity Kane, stepped up too. She filed a lawsuit saying Puff put her through years of psychological abuse. Then, just days before the feds put cuffs on Puff, a woman named Thalia Graves came forward. She said Puff and his security boss raped her back in 2001 in that same New York recording studio and recorded it. Uncle Mike had to pause. This was spiraling into something way bigger than just one case. Diddy's lawyers been swinging back, saying a lot of these claims are bogus or expired under the statute of limitations. But Uncle Mike knows the streets don't lie. It's obvious Puff caught in a legal hurricane with no clear exit ramp. The next big question Uncle Mike hearing, is Puff going down alone? Or who else getting pulled into this mess? U.S. Attorney Damian Williams been real clear. The investigation's still wide open, and over 50 people already talked to. Prosecutors openly told the public, if you know something, come forward. Legal analysts say there's a real chance folks from Diddy's circle could face heat too. In big RICO cases, it's common for the whole squad to get named. As CNN legal analyst Joey Jackson said, you got people who enabled him. Whether they get charged or testify is up to the government. Uncle Mike knows sometimes the feds keep their eyes locked on the main prize, Diddy himself. Trial attorney Misty Maris explained it like this. If Puff's people flip and offer testimony for immunity or lighter charges, the prosecution might cut him a deal. Why? Because what matters most is building an airtight case against Puff. They need inside info, boss. They need testimony. That's how they win the whole thing. But here's the thing Uncle Mike really want y'all to understand. The lines in this case are blurry. In these dark human trafficking cases, people can be victims, witnesses, and offenders all at the same time. Legal experts call that the victim-offender overlap. Uncle Mike remembers when Ghislaine Maxwell went down. Some of the women testifying admitted they also recruited others into that mess. The feds could have charged them, but sometimes it ain't the right call. The indictment officially calls it the Combs Enterprise, a whole machine of alleged crimes involving employees, assistants, bodyguards, and even top-level staff. Now the wildest part, the streets and the feds got their eye on that FBI list of celebs who supposedly attended Diddy's freak-offs. Uncle Mike knows that list got people nervous. What does it mean for those names? How deep does this rabbit hole go? Uncle Mike gonna let y'all sound off. Drop your comments below. What you think happens next? Will these celebs get dragged in deeper? And don't forget to hit that notification bell and check the cards on screen for the next updates on this wild, wild case. Uncle Mike riding with y'all through it all.